Hey everyone, welcome back. Today's interview is special because you're about to hear from someone who turned a personal and family challenge into a thriving photography business. Here are three most important things you'll learn from Ron Lemelin today. First, why practice and second shooting are, in his opinion, non-negotiable before you dive into wedding photography. Ron spent years perfecting his craft before going full-time. Second, how personal branding and energy can book you more clients than perfect images ever will. Ron actually built his entire brand around one word: smile. And third, the real talk on pricing, imposter syndrome, and why knowing your lane matters more than trying to compete with everyone else. Ron has been shooting 37 plus weddings a year for the last 17 years, and his story will inspire you to show up authentically, practice relentlessly, and build a business that reflects who you are. Ron, thanks for sharing your story. And for those of you that want to learn his secrets, let's dive in. Where are you geographically? Tell us more. Tell us more. Where are you located?
Central Massachusetts, actually Western Massachusetts. I'm in that about an hour from Boston, Massachusetts, and right around that Springfield area. So I'm in Western Massachusetts.
Okay, cool. And so let's provide a little story on how I found you. I found you online, and I know you're one of the prominent names in Massachusetts. And for the audience, the three things that I immediately noticed when I saw you online was your social media presence, which a lot of people sort of discredit, or they don't know how important it is. So your social media presence, and this is not just Facebook. You have like a channel on YouTube as well. The other thing was you provide a lot of value to your clients, which I know a lot of folks, again, underestimate that this is such an important thing to do in terms of drawing the crowds. And the third thing for me personally, as photographer, was your off-camera lighting, right? So it's just fantastic. I know it's like one of those things that people think it's like super easy to do. You just put the flash out and take some photos, but it's almost like a mastery. It's almost like another frequency, right? So today I wanted to just take you through a couple of questions, just because before we even talk about photography, I would like the audience, your audience and my audience, to understand who is Ron, right? So where are you from? Where were you born? Are you originally from Massachusetts? Are you from small town, big town? Were you like, as a kid, were you more of a nerd, sports guy, rebel? What's the story?
Wow, what a loaded question that is. Born and raised in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
About an hour from Boston, Massachusetts. Was not born with a camera in my hand at all. For me, it was a little bit of a story about how I even got into photography. Was more about living on my own. I ended up being a little bit in some bad situations when I was a kid, and got into doing good in school. And then seventh grade rolled around, and then eighth grade rolled around, and my mom decided she wanted to move to Connecticut. Well, I had just gotten into the trade school that we were in, and the trade school is was called Putnam Vocational. So they taught everything vocationally wise for schools. The trades like electrician, heating and air conditioning. And my father was a carpenter, so I was involved with carpentry. So I wanted to learn carpentry. So I kept my grades up, got into Putnam. But before that, when we talk about going back about how people start with hardships and things, seventh grade rolled around, my parents got divorced. Eighth grade rolled around, I ended up staying back. So my friend that was behind me ended up being in the same grade as me. And then eighth grade rolled around again, and I stayed back again. So he went on to ninth grade, and I stayed in eighth grade. So I was in eighth grade 3 times. Finally got my act together, got it all straightened out, got into the trade school that I wanted to get to, and my mom decides that she wants to move to Connecticut. Well, I had just gotten into the school system, so I was like, I don't really want to go with you. So she said, you're going to have to stay with your dad. That turned into be another bad situation. So I moved in with my brother, which older brother, which ended up being another bad situation. So, long story short, how I got into this and what doing this was, I was working for a machine shop and got into doing that, straightened out my life, got into church, got married, started having kids. And my first son was born at 25 weeks. He was born at 1 pound, 7 ounces. He was given a 3% chance of life. So
Wow.
anything over 3% was going to be, you know, medical issues that we're going to have to cross and hurdle. Um, that's was the day that I decided, if I only have 3 days of life with him, I went to the store and bought myself a Minolta film camera, and went into the NICU and just started taking pictures, because I didn't know if I had 3 days, 3 weeks, or 3 months. Um, Very long story short, he's now 25 years old. So that's where my desire for capturing memories got birthed, was in the NICU at Bay State Medical in Springfield.
Wow. Wow. What a story. So you mentioned trade school, conventional way of kind of going through schools, and the typical indoctrination, right? Photography is not there in the picture yet for you. And I'm just curious, when you picked up the camera, when was the idea born to, like, later on at some point, oh, I can actually monetize this, like I can make money with it. So it started with your son, and then what happened?
I bought a camera just with the intent of going into the NICU and taking pictures. Because again, at 1 pound, 7 ounces, he wasn't able to see, he wasn't able, had no hair fall. Everything was very premature, even to the point where, if you can imagine a wedding band,
Mhm.
his arm fit through the wedding band, and my ring went all the way up to his shoulder. That's how premature he was. So
Wow.
as I'm taking pictures of this, I realized that this was for me. I was documenting 3 months, 3 days, 3 months, whatever was going to be, I was documenting that. And that was my lot in life. And I wanted to capture every moment. That's where that whole got birthed from. Um, as he got older, still dealing with medical issues with braces on his feet, eye issues and surgeries and things like that. I just kept taking pictures all along because I was still technically in my mind documenting,
Yeah.
you know. So I took my camera with me everywhere. So now I'm starting to go to the park and taking pictures of my kids and things like that. And all of a sudden people started asking me to take pictures of their kids. So I was like, yeah, I can do that. So I went to go to the park and take pictures of their kids, my kids, and then started picking pictures of there. When I turned 40 years old, um, I took enough family pictures, which is where I started with, was just families. And I was only getting like $50, burn the images. Here you go, you're done and you're set. And at that time, digital um, had just come out. So cameras were a lot more expensive than what they are now. So very long story short, when I turned 40 years old, I told my wife, I want you to tell everybody that's going to come to the party. I just want money because I want to buy some backdrops and some lights for my living room. Um, from there, it just kind of escalated from moving from there. I had to move my couch out of the way, the buffet table out of the way. I had to move all my stuff out of the way just to get my lights and set up. Shot for an hour, and then put the living room back together. So I moved from there, and I figured, okay, I might be able to, do something with this. So I found a small little studio space for like $200. It was only like 200 square feet. Started doing headshots and started, doing some things from there. And then moved into the next suite over and the next suite over and the next. So by the time I left that one space, I had 5 spaces all connected with doors. Then I decided to leave that, and I found a place in Holyoke, Massachusetts, and now I have an 1,800 square foot space that I have now. So it was like almost like a very trickle effect. I came in backwards. I didn't come in with the intent of making money. I just came in with the intent of taking pictures with my family and friends, and I was still working a full time job at 50 hours a week in a machine shop, making tools, and that's what I did for 31 years.
I see. When did you have? It's very interesting, like this organic growth, and I think it happens to a lot of folks that way. It's not like they're pre-planning, premeditating this thing. Is just they just grow organically. Um, I'm just curious because you said you at one point from the living room And then at one point, I would imagine there's like one gig that fell into your lap where it's like, holy crap, like this is now serious, right? Maybe from $50 to 500 or 1500, or do you remember that or no?
I do. It was a moment where when I started booking 4 sessions on a weekend, I looked at my wife and I said, "Hey," I said, "I can't keep doing this in my living room. By the time I take it apart, by the time I put it back together, efficiently wise, it wasn't working." I was still I just started to second shoot for weddings with another photographer friend of mine. I asked her if I could tag along. So we had a wedding that was a whole bunch of people knew everybody together. So it was like all of our friends that one person was getting married. My friend was doing the photography who lives in Michigan. She came down here to do this wedding. So I was like, hey, you mind if I just tag along? I'm not really sure if I want to get into weddings, but I'd like to see how it works. Um, she goes, yeah, come along, fine. So I ended up following her around. A year later, one person from that wedding got married. She called me up and said, "Hey, we'd like you to do our wedding. We know that it's not what you want to do, but we don't have any money to buy a big photographer, so we're okay with whatever you give us." Um, that was 17 years ago. And 17 years ago was my first wedding I ever did as a friend. In That's where the bug hit because now I changed my studio from my home, getting a small space so that I can meet people in a studio space. So you look a little bit more legit. And then from there, that's when I started to branch out into weddings and everything else off from there. So it started with doing a second shooting for a wedding, having enough families on the weekends to do the family shoot. And then I was like, I just decided to get that little space just to kind of give me a little bit of credibility. And then from there, it just kind of escalated and built from there. But I always tell people the best place to start is small. If you want to get into weddings, start with second shooting.
Yeah, partly. Yeah, it makes sense. I got to tell you, one of the episodes I did on the YouTube channel was about second shooting, and I think it's third most popular episode because people don't even realize that it's an option, and that other photographers actually need other people to help them, whether it's carrying the gear or at the very beginning, or taking some candid shots. So yeah, definitely, I agree with you. What was the question? The question I had. Oh, I know. I remember when I started, because I started my journey back in 2005, I think. And I, for a very long time, I had an identity crisis. So even though I was taking photos and working at weddings and doing headshots, I had a problem calling myself a photographer because I never went to school for photography. I'm curious, like with you, how was that? How was that? How did you handle that?
I still deal with it. I still do. I'm being honest with you. I still deal with the fact that people pay me money. My wife says to me, "Don't tell me you're going to work tonight because all you do is play." And and I know what she means by that. I'm just if I can get my couples to laugh and joke and be comfortable, they're better in front of the camera. So I will come in and be that, high energy person so that it gets everybody to kind of pay attention and feel better and things like that. So it's a very tricky place to be in when it comes to that because I didn't come in the normal way. I think I'm about an hour away from Hallmark institution, which is a big photography place, school, industry for people to go and learn. So I was working full time at my machine shop job, and I actually called up Hallmark and I said, "Hey, I'm just curious, how much? I'm within an hour's distance. I can commute to that. What are we looking at for?" But the price was just, it was right around the cusp of film going into digital. Um, with that being said, the price was just nowhere near being in my budget to have a house, 2 cars, wife, 2 kids, and try and pay for photography classes. So I literally just bought magazines. I bought magazines, I bought books, I bought DVDs. I just engulfed myself in the wedding knowledge. But just because you have the knowledge of how to press the shutter and take a picture doesn't make you a photographer. So going back to your original question is I struggled with, and I still struggle with sometimes, Hey, I heard you're a professional photographer. And I had one person say to me one time that they felt you were not a professional photographer unless it was your sole income. And I understand where that philosophy comes from, but I disagree with the thought pattern because I was not schooled at homework. I taught everything myself, learned everything else myself, practiced on my kids, learned everything that I did, and everything you see. And I tell my clients this all the time, everything you see behind me that I do on my website is all done by me. I created them. I did them. I practiced them. I perfected them. I did them. Um, I didn't go to any schools to do that. And people are not looking for doctorates of photography to see if they're going to hire you or not. They're going to say, wow, I like that picture. I like your personality. I want you to do my wedding. So I came in the back way to do that. To answer your question is still feel sometimes weird calling myself a professional freelance photographer because never schooled in it, but just taught myself in it. So it's weird.
Totally. When so also in my case, I remember there's when I talk to other folks, usually they have it's either the art that pushes them back because they always say, I don't know if I'm that artistic, right, or creative, and then the other group, it's the technical group, right? Because in a way, entrepreneurship or having a business like photography, photography business is the best way to sort of self-develop because there's so many little elements that you have to master. What was like, was there like one fear, whether it was technology or shooting in manual or art, or like what was the scary part when you started?
All of the above. Let's face it, one mistake, you shoot a wedding and you screw it up, you have a technical problem. The people that shoot weddings with only one SD card, a card fails. I still get nervous. I've been doing weddings for over 17 years now. I still get nervous going into a wedding because before a wedding, I will, on my way drive there, I'll play like jazz music in the background just to kind of calm myself down a little bit, get my mindset right. So every time I go, there's always that thing. There was no one thing that I was nervous about. Yes, the technical part is probably, in my opinion,
Mhm.
you can have the best personality. You take a wrong picture, you ain't fixing that. Slow shutter, a picture is blurry when somebody's hand's moving. That's a bad picture. You can't fix that. So there's always a way to, for me, it's all of the above. I always go in a very nervous state because it causes me to not second guess, it causes me to double check. Okay. Let's look at the background to make sure there's no branches sticking out of somebody's head. So looking at the individual is just as important as looking at what's behind them because there's things that are behind them that might be distracting, a pole coming out of somebody's head, and things like that. So I'm nervous every time I go in. It was always, if I had to pick one, technical.
Yeah.
Technical was my big thing in nerve.
Yeah, and then being nervous, I totally agree with you because even and I don't know if it's nervous being like, I'm not scared to go and shoot an event. It's more anticipation, and I always say that it's a good probably sign that you still care. I would be probably more concerned if I wasn't nervous and just kind of winging it, right? All right. So we have talked about you. I would like to switch gears and let's look at some of the work. I know you sent me a couple pictures. So let's just go through them. Let me switch our view here. So we have a couple shots here, and this is exactly what I was mesmerized by. So many questions about just this one particular photo. But first question is this: this off-camera lighting, which is like a separate skill that photographers have to master because everybody can shoot outside. How did you end up there, and how are you so good at it?
Practice, 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 practice. Off camera flash it's in Massachusetts, it's what's separating us from the other photographers. So here in Massachusetts, we're a dime a dozen. So how I got into this place right here, this place is called the Tunnel Bar. It's literally shaped like a tunnel. It is a train station. Inside of this room is a very elegant. The name of the place is called Union Station in Northampton, Massachusetts. And inside of this tunnel, these walls are brown. The leather chairs are brown. The floor is brown. Everything is brown. It's a tunnel. They dress it all up. So what I do is I started practicing with God, long time ago with off-camera flash and put as a flash for this one here. There's a flash behind them, and all of them, I use Magmod, so I have all of the different colored gels. So there's a person squatting down behind the bride and groom. So I'll put that blue gel on, and blue with the brown makes a little bit of that light blue color. I've got a small AD200 on the front, lighting them up from the front. So I take the gel off, and then we do the blue one, and then we did the red one, and then we did the green one. And then those are the ones that I focus on when it comes to the bride. So the first thing to do is you make the room black, and then I pop the flash in the black and the back just to make sure I get the color as bright as I want and the brightness of the flash in the back. Then I pop a flash on the front, very, very lightly in the front, just to give them a little bit of fill, and that's it. I make them look at me. I make them look at each other. I make them put their foreheads together and close their eyes. I just make them slow their breathing down, and it just gives them 2 to 3 minutes to just decompress, because this was done during the reception. I sneak them downstairs to give them 5 or 10 minutes to kind of get out of all the chaos and just get a chance to be by themselves. So this is a lot of people like, if I'm a preferred vendor at this venue. So when people see this venue and they go to look at that image, that's when they call me.
You said there's a person in the back. You're lighting them from the front.
Yep.
How are you lighting the front here? I'm curious. Is there another person standing there? Is the light suspended? How does that work?
So there's a tripod. There's a light stand in that picture, from that picture, my left. So I'm facing the bride and groom right there. There's a 8200 to my left on a stand with a grid on it. And then there's a stand behind the bride and groom about 24 inches off the ground. So it's pointing backwards up at them. And then the light goes both ways. So it's tipped up at 45 degrees. It's in nice and close to them, about 2 feet from behind them. So it sprays that, with that sphere on there, it sprays that light everywhere, which is what you want. Especially, it illuminates the whole roundness of the tunnel because of the shape of the tunnel. If that was a square room, it would look a little bit different.
I see.
So a light behind them on the ground, a light to my left, and that's it. Nice and simple.
So with lighting setups like this one, in back in the day, we would have to do like a double exposure and then maybe mask it in Photoshop. Is AI helping with this sort of editing now?
No, there is
No.
no AI in this at all. This is,
Got it.
I won't say straight out of the camera, but I will go in and adjust, because sometimes I could do this in 3 shots. So I get 3 pictures. I get the backlight setting my first picture is making the room dark. My
Yep.
second picture is the adjusting the flash in the back for the brightness that I want. The third picture is my front light adjusting the brightness of the flash. Click, that fourth click is the picture. That's it. There's no AI in this at all. This is, I don't want to say straight out of the cancer, because I enhance a little bit, I contrast and adjust just a little bit, but there's no AI in this at all.
Oh, wow. So it is a composite, right?
No composite.
No. Okay, I gotcha.
First 3 shots are test shots. Fourth shot is the actual shot.
Oh, I gotcha. Makes sense. We have a next shot here. This one is outside. So let's there are a lot of things to dissect here, but what's going on? Veil action. Is there a person helping you with this? Okay.
Yes. You will never get a veil shot like this without having somebody holding the veil, because if there's that much wind, the bride's flowers are going to be blowing, her hair is going to be blowing, he's going to be blowing. So this is that traditional shot. I do it twice. I have one, and I actually had this place is called Starting Gate in Wilbraham, Massachusetts. Very high end place. We went up to the higher level. They have a house that's up at the top. We overlook the valley that's right there. So it's a golf course. So the bottom left of the picture is where the actual reception is happening. So I had the guy that came on the golf cart with me because I didn't have my second shooter with me. The guy on the golf cart that gave us the ride up there was like, "Hey, can I steal you for 30 seconds?" He goes, "What do you need me to do?" I said, "Just stand behind the bride, and all you're going to do is waft that veil in the air." So without pulling it out of her head, we wafted it once. And what I have my guys do is I have them go up and then start walking backwards. So right towards the back of the picture, all I did was Photoshop him out, and that was it. And that's actually the picture that's hanging up on their fireplace wall.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I'm smiling as you're saying, going through the story, because it's like we have to be agile in this photography business, and a lot of times leveraging things, that are beyond comprehension of a normal human being. But like, yeah, kudos for doing that. The third one, I was actually going through images on your website, and I was like, oh, there's a lot of off camera flash work outside, and I'm like, I wonder if Ron does it like when it rains. And I think I ran into this image here. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter, I guess, right? So what happened here? Was this intentional? Was this sort of last minute idea? Tell us more about this image.
This I'm finding to be probably one of the most popular pictures I get requested for. People go to my website and they see this, and I had one person literally hire me. She told me the story when we did her engagement pictures. She was with her fiance and they were going through their website, my websites. They were trying to find that photographer, and she's like, "Oh my god, I love that. That's the guy." She goes, the groom's like, he goes, "Well, let's find out how much his prices are first, and we'll talk about it later." So champagne shots is what I do at the end of my weddings. This is a golf course in Hardwick, Massachusetts. My first time being there, and I said to the wedding coordinators, like, "Hey, I know it's pitch dark outside." I said, "But I want to do this fun little shot. Do you trust me?" She goes, "Well, we're really not supposed to go on the grass because that's the putting green." And it's like, "Well, how about if we go just before?" So what I do is the flash that's behind them is a AD 400, and it's got a sphere on it. So I put it back about 10 feet. I point it 45 degrees into the air. I take the cork off of the champagne, give it to the bride and groom. I make them stand butt to butt, back to back. And then I say, "Just start shaking and release your thumb like a garden hose." And this is what we get from that. And they're shaking, they're having a good time. The spray is going everywhere. So this is at nighttime. This was not rain. This is just all champagne that you have. But I do have a rain shot on my website someplace with an umbrella underneath an umbrella, and we lit everything up behind them over there too. So this is one of the popular things that I get requested for all the time.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's your energy, because I'm just, you mentioned those are sort of a higher level clients, venues, that they don't get discouraged in terms of like getting messy with shots like this, that they still kind of budge in and work with you and trust you that you can deliver this quality of work.
Yeah, this is something that I work at many different levels of venues. This one here. So what I do is I tell them, they know ahead of time that they want a champagne shot. So what we do is I go outside with, I take the two
Mm,
napkins from their table. So we go outside with two napkins, and I let them know that, when you spray towards me, sometimes I get champagne on me and on my, and then I got to drive home. And if I get stopped by the police, I smell like a brewery. So lately, I've been having them spraying in opposite directions so nobody gets wet except on their hands.
I
So
got
as
it.
soon as it's done, we put the bottles down on the ground, we dump them out, we wipe their hands off, they go right back into the dance floor, and we're out there for maybe 10 minutes tops. I've got one flash on a stand hitting them from the front to light them up, and that's it.
Gotcha. In terms of lighting, like quickly, for those guys that are wondering, like, how much do I have to spend on the equipment that Ron is using for a shot like this? Is it super expensive? Is just a strobe? Like, can you tell us more?
It's a Godox AD 200,
Uh-huh.
and they're about $300. And a 200-watt light is what I use for my off-camera flashes for my dance floor. That's what I use for my dance floor. They're powerful enough to go outside because at night you don't need as much light, powerful wise, to light everything up because it's dark outside. So my settings are probably going to be right around 1600 for the ISO. I bet you I was about 1/400 of a second for a shutter because anything less than that, you're going to see their arms moving back and forth, and you're going to see them. It doesn't freeze the light. And then the light in the background is just an 80. I think I said 400. I think it was a 200. And the aperture's at 2.8. And that's it. The lights are very inexpensive. Everything I buy is one at a time. So when I bought my Sony system, I bought one prime lens, use that for a little while, buy the next lens. I don't buy everything at once. I don't think anybody can afford to. I want to buy, use, get good at it, and then get the next lens that I need after that. When it comes to lights, same thing. I bought my first AD200. That worked out perfect. And I was like, you know what? I need something for behind them. So 6 months later, I bought another AD200. So now I've got one in the front, one in the back. Those same two lights, when I go up on the dance floor, AD200 on one side, AD200 on the other side. I've got my split lighting. So those lights are used everywhere in my photography business.
Got
Even
it.
headshots I can do with an AD200.
Got it. Perfect. And thanks for the insight. I know some guys that are geeking out on tech, or the guys that have no clue where to even begin. I know this will be super helpful. So okay, so we're shooting weddings, we're making money. It's most of it is fun, but like sometimes we have dark moments. So when I say dark moments, sometimes I've been personally in a situation where I dropped my camera from the counter because it was attached with the cable to the flash. I've lost a card once. Fortunately, was able to find it. A friend of mine at the wedding I was second shooting, a car drove over the card and just destroyed it. Luckily, he had a second card in the camera. I want to hear, like, did you get like a serious scare at any point, or is it just all like, was it all easy?
It is never easy. I feel like there is more of a fear of something happening that
Yeah.
happens more often. And again, like I said, I don't go in nervous. I go in not second guessing myself. I just go in double checking myself. So I remember one story. I had this couple. We went to an engagement session. Back then, in my early, didn't know any better. I thought I was doing the right thing. That session was done. Put the cameras in the back seat of the car. Took the camera card. Actually, cameras were on me. I took the memory cards out. As soon as I say this, you're gonna know exactly where I'm going. Took the memory cards out, put them on top of the car. The story could end right there. I put my cameras away. I drive home. I get all the way home, and I go to my thing, and it's like, because I usually take them out and put them in a special pouch. They're not in there. Took the whole bag apart. My wife and two kids actually went back to the park with me, looked everywhere, walked the path home to get outside of the park, walked up by the highway, couldn't find the cards anywhere. I had to swallow that bitter pill of calling the client and saying, hey, I lost the memory card. They laughed and they were like, oh my God, Ron, no big deal. She said, tell you the truth, we were so nervous during the pictures. I feel like if we do this again, we're going to be better at it again. So it worked out better. But yes, there's been times where a lens would fall out of your hand. It just a flash would fall over because of that. And this is the importance of having insurance. Also, when you have insurance, you're protected and covered when it comes to that. If it hits somebody, you don't want that. But there's always those things that could happen when it comes to that. But I've dropped the lens, I've dropped the camera, I've dropped a stand. One of the funniest things we did was in the middle of a Catholic church ceremony. One of my video people that was working with me tripped over the kneeler. And you know, when it's all quiet and everybody's kind of like doing their quiet stuff like that, the loudest bang and all the attention went zoop, right to where that guy was. So there's always going to be those stories that happen. Life happens. There's nothing you can do about it. But if it's your fault, be a professional, make it right. But at the same time, yeah, just, I've dropped lenses, I've dropped stands, I've dropped cameras, I've dropped, there's just certain things that just clumsiness and uh, life, just things happen.
Yeah, I mean, with the amount of weddings, events that you're handling, right? Something eventually will happen. I love what you said about just this transparency and being open and honest with the client. A lot of times we are in this mode of being a little paranoid, thinking that client will react negatively. And like even in your case, what you described, it's exactly what I've experienced in the past. When you're transparent with the client, and you're, after all, you're a human being, right? So and so are the clients.
Yeah.
So it's always, don't try to hide, try to be
Yeah.
transparent, try to be honest, and people, and just work with people, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
almost like fess up. You made a mistake. It was an honest mistake. Now I learned from that. Those cards do not come out of my camera until I get into my office, open that lid, and I will take that card out and I will walk right over to the computer and I will put it inside of there. That's the only time my cards come out during a wedding or anything. I do not back up my files until I physically get home. I take my second shooter's cards, I put them in a durable holder. Then I wrap it up with a rubber band, and then I tuck it down in the bottom of my camera bag, because that's the last thing you want to lose is second shooters images also.
Yeah, makes sense. So, we're talking about clients being transparent, being honest. Obviously, we want to cater and work with everybody out there, but like photographer at your level, you simply cannot, quote unquote, afford to work with everybody. Your pricing dictates, who you work with. What do you do with a client that's coming in and talks about a budget, and it's really really low? How do you handle a situation like this, or do you pre-filter your client before you actually sit down with them?
Yes and no. Um, that's a great question, and I feel like this is where people are struggling nowadays. I know this in Massachusetts. Um, it is a I have starting prices on my website. Okay, that's one way to filter out, and I don't even like using those words. That's one way of getting the client to understand that your pricing starts here. And then if they're still interested in that, or you're close enough to their budget that they will move forward and get a little bit more information. Um, the second way is I don't ask people what their budgets are. When they call me up, I ask them what their date is. And once I have their date, um, I ask them, they fill out a questionnaire so I know exactly where I'm driving, how far I'm going. If I'm driving an hour and 45 minutes one way, that adjusts my pricing just a little bit. Um, and then from there, I'll send them back the package pricing. I immediately text them back saying, "Hey, you have everything. I would love to meet with you guys in person. If you guys have any questions." Sometimes they'll say, "Thank you for your information. You're a little bit higher than what we have for our budget. So thank you." I'll then reply back and say, "Well, how far out of the budget are you?" And I do that for two reasons. October is a very busy month for weddings. If I've got 11 weddings in October and in November I only have one, I will entertain the thought of doing a lower budget wedding just so I can get another wedding inside of November. Now, some people will feel like, well, what about the people that paid top dollar for you in October? Is that fair that you're giving somebody a better price in November? Um, the truth of it is, pricing is subject to not only availability, but it's also subject to when your wedding is going to be. A wedding in January is priced differently than a wedding in July, June, August, and September. It's just different when it comes to that. So that's how I justify if I'm going to do that. So I met with this couple one time. We sat down at Panera's in my very early years of doing this when I was meeting people in public places. I sat down with them. The groom told the bride on the way in that if his prices are too expensive, then we're not going to be able to afford this. She goes, "Yeah, I understand that. Let's just go see what he's got to say." I talked to him. Him and I connected on a level, personal level, because of things that he's been through, and he's a counselor for people. And so we talked about a lot of things. Long story short, we started talking about a few things. I gave my price. I was $600, only $600 higher than what their budget was. At that time, $600 is a lot of money when you're already maxed out at your budget, what it is. They got out to the car, and she knew what her budget was. She knew I was higher than $600 for her budget. They got out to the car, and the guy's like, he goes, "That's the guy." And she's like, "But Joey, you said that we can't spend more than this, and he's higher than this." She goes, "I don't care. We'll have a tag sale or something, but his personality, I feel comfortable with just talking to him. I would feel comfortable with somebody taking my picture of me. So when you can have a conversation with people about the importance of photography, because sometimes you know this, I know this, we'll get beat out by somebody that's less than us.
Yep.
And what I always talk to the couples when they reach out to me is I tell them I do anywhere between 30 to 37 weddings per year.
Hmm.
The person that you're going to have do your day, ask them how many weddings they did last year. She goes, "Oh, I already asked him. He said 3." So I just say, do you feel comfortable with hiring somebody that only has 3 weddings under their belt? Or would you feel more comfortable with somebody that does 25 weddings per year under their belt? And that's how sometimes somebody will stretch a budget.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I with the price conversation, I resonate with you because it's like when you go to a restaurant and you have a great quality steak, it's usually market value. It's never priced, right? Because it's like depending on where you are in a season or simply demand. Demand drives prices a lot. So if you're busy, like you said, October, for you, yeah, we have to adjust because there's only one run. so totally makes sense. On the other hand, I'm curious, have you ever had a red flag client? So let's say they're walking in, they're ready, money sounds good, and there is just something that you feel this may not be a good match. What do you do? Do you muscle through it, or do you say no?
I do a lot of bridal shows. And I saw one of your videos about the importance of bridal shows.
Yeah.
Um, there is a two-way street when it comes to meeting somebody for the first time. First impressions is a two-way street. They get to meet you for the first time, you get to meet them for the first time.
Yep.
Sometimes when you start talking to a couple and you hear the list of demands, not requests, this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want, and this is what I want. I understand, and it's good that people are very direct with what they want, so the client has an understanding of what's going to be required. But then sometimes there's that little bit like, ooh, I wonder how this is going to be on the wedding day. Is this going to be a little bit too demanding, or we might not be the right fit when it comes to that? And sometimes you have to figure that part out, and you only have like 30 seconds because if they say what your pricing is and it's in their budget, and you've got a red flag detonating in your being that you just know something is not right about this, you just got to figure out a way to kind of trust your gut. You just got to trust your gut. If I can have, if it's an email conversation and I can hear it, I can honestly say, listen, I already have 11 weddings in October. I honestly don't feel like I could fit another one in there. I've already got 2 that weekend. I really don't want to do a Sunday wedding. There's a way to kind of get out of it when I feel like there's a red flag situation.
Yeah, yeah, I got it. And then totally makes sense. um for me, I think personally, sometimes we would have the feeling, but it's more, and this is not to label clients by any means, this is more,
Agreed.
you mentioned earlier that some clients come in and ask for like specific photo, and I've had instances of clients walking in with printed shots of like different photographers asking for that specific type of work. And my only recommendation was like, I'm not your guy. Sounds like this could be the person that would be a better fit. I want clients also to understand that it's, we have our style, quote unquote. We are confident about the work we're delivering, and we're not delivering, anything really to cater to the client, right?
I had that situation happen where somebody would say, this is what we're looking for. And they showed me a picture of an image of a photographer here in Massachusetts. Um, and I was honest with them. I was like, well, yes, I can do that. I said, but if that's the style and the coloring and what you want, why don't you just hire him? And it was one of those things because it was a price thing. It was an $8,000 photographer,
Yep.
and they didn't spend $8,000, but they wanted to know if somebody like a lower level photographer, budget wise,
Yep.
could accommodate them.
Yep.
So I understand people are very honest that we want all of this, but we can only afford this. So what's the best we can get for this budget? And anybody can accommodate a budget. I get that. You just have to make sure that if a photographer says, yes, I can do that, and they've never done off-camera flash, like that tunnel picture that we had up there, if somebody's like, oh my God, I can do that, no problem at all. And then all of a sudden they go to their wedding day and it doesn't come out the way that they wanted it to come out, you're going to look like a liar and you're going to get a bad review when it comes to that. And reviews are gold. The day after my wedding, I'll send an email to my bride saying, hey, hope you had a great experience with Lemelin Photography. If you don't mind sharing a review about your services, would be greatly appreciated. And then that's what present and future wedding couples go to. There's no more yellow pages. There's no more yellow pages where you're looking for people. The yellow pages are now Instagram and Facebook. Anybody that says, like, do an ad in a yellow book, that's not even there anymore. Yellow books are gone. The phone books are gone. Now it's like, oh, I heard about so-and-so. What are they going to do? Straight to Instagram, straight to Google. I tell people, go to my YouTube channel. I've got a podcast over there. You mentioned about the information that I give. I want people to understand that there's certain people that know what they're doing, and I want to give information when it comes to that. But yes, there's a right way and a wrong way. You want reviews and things like that, but you don't ever want to put yourself in a position where you are telling a client you can do something when you know you've never done it.
True.
Meaning, go practice it, go do it, then show it. Now you know how to do it instead of trying to figuring it out before their wedding.
Absolutely. Very important. Another golden nugget. My brain got stuck there, but this is for my audience. I don't know if you probably didn't notice, but I did notice. Ron dropped a very big golden nugget. He said he's asking for reviews immediately after delivery. So he's still taking advantage of the client's emotional peak when they're experience, very happy. This is the moment when you should be asking for it. I think I had an episode recently when I try to talk about that idea, because it's very, very important to understand the timing of the ask, right? So the next thing on the list here was I had a couple categories, and I believe in the PDF file I sent you we had 6 categories, maybe, or 7. I'll read them out. You can pick 2, and then I'll ask questions about that. Does that sound good? Okay. So we have number 1 is mindset. Number 2 is camera. Number 3 is editing. Number 4 is clients. Then we have business, automation like AI, and then we have personal branding and marketing.
Mindset and personal branding.
Mindset and branding. Perfect. All right. So we've talked a little bit about
Unless there's something else you want to talk about.
What is it?
Unless there's something else you want to talk about instead.
No, I think this is a good fit. I would probably try to push you and sway you into a different direction, but I think personal branding is we have to talk about it with you, and mindset, very important. And I got to tell you, a lot of photographers struggle with mindset. It seems like the number one thing, probably business and legalities would be the second. But a lot of people think that they are not worthy of doing the work, and I keep saying, the confidence comes from the competence. Which one is the first? Competence. You have to practice first, is what I'm saying, and then the confidence comes. So it's not like you're going to be ready on day one. You have to commit. You have to do it enough of times. Probably fail good amount of times. And the competence comes from confidence. So that's what I was trying to say. Imposter syndrome. So we already kind of covered that. You said that you still have that little knot in your stomach, right? What about comparing yourself to other photographers early in your career and even now? Like, do you probably struggle with it less because now you have a name, and then you probably something you worry about less. But at the beginning, when you were starting, did you find yourself comparing and again saying, I'm not good enough, my work is not good enough, or nobody's going to buy?
Yes. And I feel like that is normal. So if somebody is feeling that way, it's normal that you feel that way. my best advice to somebody is you have to get out of your own head, because I know at that time I was still learning. I'm still learning today. I've been doing this for 17 years and I'm still learning new things and doing things better than the way that I did in the past. So the mindset of imposter is it's a lot of people struggle with this when it comes to this, because when you first start out, one story that I'll remember is I was just doing a couple of weddings on my own. Um, Still had the full-time job, still doing the families on the weekend kind of thing like that. And I decided to go to a bridal show. And I walked into the bridal show. And when you're in an area, networking is number one. Always network with people that are around you, like-minded people, people that are above you, below you. So always network. So I walked into this bridal show and I'm walking around. I knew a couple of people, but I didn't know like everybody.
Mhm.
I wanted to see what a booth looks like when it comes to, because if I eventually wanted to do a bridal show. So I walked into these booths and they've got like 35-inch TVs. This was like almost like 15 years ago. 35-inch TVs, and they've got big gazebos hanging up with draping fabric all over them. Very, very elaborate. So if I would have walked in there with a folding chair and a table, you're not looking like you're in the right place. So I wanted to see what it looked like. So we still joke, this guy and I, every once in a while when I see him. When I walked in, he knew who I was. I knew he was a wedding photographer. He had a booth and everything. And he just looked at me and he knew what I was there for. I was just walking around looking, scoping it out. And he goes, "Oh," he goes, "Are you here to do a little bit of recon?" And I was like, "Yep." I said, "I am." He goes, "Okay." He goes, "Take a look around and then you'll figure out what you want to do and what you don't want to do." So he's been a great mentor of mine. He's been a great friend of mine, great photographer when it comes to that. So the flip side of that is back then it was that imposter syndrome of, oh my God, how do I fit into all of this beautiful stuff and elaborate? And this is back when it was still film at that time. And just the boots and everything else like that, to now 17 years later, I'm in the same room with all these people. So it is a very humbling thing to now where I was with growing and learning and everything else. Like now, I'm now in the same room with all of these people that I used to look up to and admire. And I still do. These people are really excellent at what they do. And I'm just honored to be in the same room as them. So yeah, I still look around and say, wow, that looks amazing. So there's still that time now, even though I've been doing this, the not an imposter way, but it's still a humbling way. It's like, wow, I still got some growing to do. I've still got some learning to do. Look at the creativity of, wow, I wish I would have thought of that. So everybody's brain is different. How I think creatively. You'll see I'm on the other side over here. You'll see this one right here.
Yep.
This picture right here is the same philosophy as the champagne shot that I did, with
Uh-huh.
one flash behind, actually put two flashes behind them, a red gel and a blue gel. So if you see, where am I here? Right here, this side, right here. So I put a red gel and a blue gel behind the bride and groom right there. Then I had all the people that were doing vapes, which are so much better than cigars nowadays. The vapes blow that smoke into the air, really good smoke, and no light in the front of them because I want to illuminate, almost like silhouette them. And that's the picture that's hanging above their fireplace also. So that's stuff that I think of. Other people think of other stuff.
Yeah. So but before you leveled up, say on the same token with the mindset, did you struggle with like raising prices and just adapting? Because the price game leads one way, downwards, right? Go Anybody can be cheaper, right? But the idea, the name of the game is we have to charge more. Did you struggle with that when you had to? How, like, what was your strategy? Did you gradually go up? Did you just overnight? Wife yelled at you and and said, "Hey, you got to double your prices." What's the deal?
Um, I still struggle with that. Here in Massachusetts,
Yeah,
photographers are a dime a dozen.
yeah.
There's one in every corner. Every networking event I go to, there's a new person that just picked up a camera 2 months ago and she's talking about second shooting. And I'm like, Start with families, start with your friends, start with the parks, stay away from weddings for as long as you can, because that's a whole nother animal. Um, Pricing is a nemesis. It is something that is necessary. It's a necessary evil. I have not raised my prices in 3 years. I pride myself is I know there's higher end photographers and I know there's people that are coming out that have less experience than me. I'm right in the middle. I have no desire to go any lower. I have no desire to go any higher. I can get clients anywhere in that range because if they like me, they'll spend the extra money. And if I've got an off season where it's an empty month, then I'll take on that lower one when it comes to that. So pricing is tricky. It is, you have to figure out what you do, not just, hey, here is my files. They need an experience. When they have an experience with you, meaning an engagement session, meaning when they come to you and they sit down inside of my studio and they have, see all my stuff that's on the wall, I have overhead. So if you're just starting out and you're working in your basement, you can start with your prices being lower. Okay. When it comes time to you leveling up and you want to move up a little bit, then your prices have to come up with that also. And if they don't, you'll find yourself trying to do 100 weddings per year just to make a living. So there's a balance between being too cheap and too expensive and being right in the middle. And I don't mean cheap as in no good. I just mean inexpensive where they're really good at what they do, but they've only done 5 weddings.
Yeah.
So once you start doing 5 weddings per year times 5 years, now you've got 25 weddings under your belt. Now, if you start doing 11, 12, 13 weddings per year, then you can start going up on your pricing because now you have a lot more experience. Your pricing should be based on your experience, not just, well, and I've heard this happen. The market in Western Massachusetts is an average of $4,500. Okay, let's say somebody says the average photographer for 8 hours is $4,500. And you did one wedding last year, and you have one camera and no off camera flash. There's no way you should be charging $4,500. So, almost, and I say this in a very humbling way, know your place, know your level, work from the bottom, and then work your way up to more camera gear, better experience, more weddings underneath your belt. That's how you should justify where your prices should be.
Totally makes sense. And one last one on mindset. So we talk about photography, but like I said earlier, you're wearing a lot of hats. You know, you're the salesman, the marketing guy, the main person that advertises. You're the accountant, the partially lawyer with a contract.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that? I know a lot of people get overwhelmed because they try to do everything all at once. So how did you handle that?
It's that's different every day because certain days you have to do certain things, and then certain days can be put off to doing other things. So as a solo entrepreneur, I know this. I'm in this on my own. I am not good at everything. So I now have a bookkeeper. I tried doing not I have an accountant that does my taxes, but each year I would just get a big mound of all my bills and all the income that I've come in and I just divvy it all up. Now I have a bookkeeper. So I took that off of my plate. All of the editing I use after shoot when it comes to that. So I get a back from there and then I kind of tweak them from there. So I've kind of automated that a little bit, but it's still all of my editing. It's still all of my work. It's all done by me. When a client hires me, they get me. If they hire me in a second shooter, my second shooter comes with me, but they get me. Bookkeeping, accounting. This shirt right here, Smile, I've had this on my shirt for over 20 years. This is where I started. I wanted a one word, and my logo's on the back, but I wanted a word that resonated positivity.
Yeah.
Okay. So everybody talks to me about like, oh my God, where'd you come up with the idea for, the word smile? I was like, well, when people see the shirt, they'll say, either, are you a dentist? And I laugh and I joke, no, photographer. It's like, oh, that was my second guess. So for me, the word smile is a representation not only of photography, but it's just a representation of positivity. There's nothing wrong with smile. Some people need to smile more and enjoy life, but that's a whole nother subject. So this brand came from that. But my mind was, I wore a shirt with smile on it 6 days a week. The only day I didn't was when I went to church. I had a dress shirt on. But smile is something that I have branded myself with. I am now called the smile guy in this area. People recognize me. People buy me things with pictures with the word smile on it. And it's very humbling at the same time. But there's so many hats because I am a marketer. You are an advertiser. You are an accountant. You are the consultant. You are the person that takes care of the bills, the invoices, and everything else like that. It is you and I talked about this in the beginning before you hit record. How do I have so much energy? Thankfully, I do because I'm able to do all of this stuff. But as a one person, it's very tricky. It's very challenging. Get as much help as you possibly can, but you can't ask for free help. Also, my bookkeeper I have to pay. My accountant I have to pay. So finding the balance in there when it comes to that is very, very tricky, and it's very humbling because there's a lot to being a solo entrepreneur. There's so much to it that it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, totally, totally. With this idea concept of smile, the hashtag, you started tapping into personal branding, which is the next category. So I will ask. Let's go into personal branding. A lot of clients, because I my observation over the years is that I always thought people buy photography, they choose the photographer purely based on images. But the truth is, a lot of times your clients don't know a lot about photography, especially the technical part of the photography aspect of the photography. And very often, especially with referrals, they are after your personality, your identity, who you are, right? So do you is that also your experience when clients come in and they don't just evaluate your photos, they treat you like you said, the groom that didn't want to book you because of the $600? He probably connected on another level and it wasn't photography.
I say this all the time. If you feel like I always try any inquiry that comes in, I always try and get them on the phone
Mhm.
before I even send their pricing. If I can have a conversation with somebody, this is what I say to them. I was like, this is me. This is my energy. This is my personality. All of this work that you see around me and on my website is all done by me. So when you hire me, you get me. This is my personality. A lot of times, if I can get them on the phone, talking to them before or after I send my pricing, it gives them an idea of who I am. Otherwise, they're looking at a piece of paper and looking at a great picture on a website, and they're like, oh, okay, he's saw. And then I've had people in the past meet with different photographers, and they've actually hired me because of my personality. They like my energy and they like my enthusiasm. I've also lost clients because of my energy. I had one couple call me up and say, hey, Ron, we decided to go in another direction. And this was about a year ago. And I asked them, I thought we had a really good conversation on the phone. I said, I apologize. I said, I actually called them one night after one of my weddings because the inquiry came in then. And I was telling them I just got done with a wedding, full of energy. I said, if you don't mind me asking, was it price? Because I'm always questioning price. Was it price or was it a style? Like you didn't like, somebody else's style was better. And she goes, honestly, she said, you have too much energy for us. She goes, this is our second marriage. And she said, we're a little bit more laid back. So we're looking for somebody a little bit more laid back. I was like, oh my God, I completely understand that.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
not all of my couples are young. I have a lot of older couples also. But I do feel like I want couples to take personality into the equation. If you're looking at just price, you're going to get what you get. And you might have a person that doesn't direct very well or doesn't pose very well. I have clients that say, Ron, I have no idea what to do behind a camera. I feel like I'm like a klutz and I'm so awkward. And I said, look at my walls. I said, do they look awkward? And they were like, no. I was like, I posed in that way.
Yeah.
I said, so if I can get you to feel that way, then you'll feel better. Oh, you know what? We feel like you'd be a great fit for us. Okay, we want to hire you. So personality has everything to do with it.
Yeah, 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 totally. And obviously the next thing I wanted to say is, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. The terms that we know. And in order for them to know, like, and trust us, you can be the greatest photographer, but if nobody knows you exist, that could be a problem. So with you, I already know the answer to this question because I know you're all over the place. But I wanted to ask you if you prioritize a platform, or is it just omnipresence and being everywhere?
Ugh, I wish I'm not God. I'm not omnipresent. When it comes to that, this is another hat that an entrepreneur
Mhm.
has to wear. If I don't care if you're awkward in front of the camera. I don't care if you don't speak well or anything like that. If you want a business, the only way you are going to thrive and survive is finding a place on social media. It is a necessary evil. On Mondays, I set 2 hours aside to set up all of my social media posts for the week. I use a platform called later.com,
Mhm.
Later. So I will go in and schedule all of my posts when it comes to that. Then during the day, I will post on top of what's already been posted. My Instagram, I feel like I don't get much work from there, but I get a lot of traction and recognition. That is the place that people will go to verify to see the work that I've done. Facebook is another part of that. I use LinkedIn if I'm going for headshots and things like that. So different platforms have different reasons I hit
Mhm.
them with.
Yeah.
Um, and YouTube, I'm doing a lot of long form content and then
Mhm.
cutting the long form up into a minute and 30-second shorts and then posting them in between all of the other things that I do. It is without a social media, I'm going to say two things here. Without a social media presence, you're not going to grow. Now, let's flip that coin over. Let's say you're on social media all the time, but you're always talking about the trip to Bermuda that you did, and you're talking about the food that you just cooked, and you're talking about this, and you're talking about that, and you are a headshot photographer, and you never talk about doing headshots, you've missed. People know that you are human, so they know you have a life, and I post when I go on vacations and things like that all the time. But I also, if you go to my social media, you're going to see everything that I do. You're going to see the latest wedding that I just did, the night before a wedding or the morning before a wedding. I will post where I'm going, what I'm doing, who I'm shooting with. I will acknowledge, and this is where collaboration comes in. I will acknowledge the vendors that I'm working with. I will tag the caterer, the bartender, the photographer, the videographer. I will tag also the person that's doing the venue itself. All of these different things in one post. So it lets people know when you go down your thing, it's like, wow, look at you said it yourself when you first started. I feel like you're everywhere. Sometimes people don't like sharing everything. I am a solo entrepreneur. I need to let people know because two things happen. They're either going to say, wow, he's really busy. He must be good. Not good in the sense of, oh my God, he's the best in the area. And, but there's something, if he's posting all of these different things, there's something about him that everybody keeps hiring him.
Right.
That makes sense. So social media is a two-edged sword. If you're on it and you're not sharing what you do, you're going to miss.
Yeah.
If you're on there sharing what you do, there is a fine line. I do get some people are sick of hearing from me.
Mhm.
Some people are sick of seeing me come across their feeds. And I get that I'm not for everybody. Just scroll on by. I'm going to be for the next person after you, then, I guess. And that goes for business owners, that goes for everybody else. So, social media, it's a necessary evil. Your branding, people need to do, you do weddings, show your weddings. If you do headshots, show headshots.
Yeah.
It's
So
simple.
you mentioned the mix of the personal versus the work related posts. If you had to give somebody a recipe, what would it be? 70% work, 30 personal? Like, what's your take on this?
Uh 80-20.
Okay.
20%
Yeah.
personal,
Yep.
because they don't care what you had for supper. They don't care you went to Bermuda. They don't care. They know that you do that, But what they want to see is they want to see your results. They want to see what wedding did you do, what weddings venues that you're at, who you work with. When couples come into me and they sit down at my table and my bench over here, I have a whole table full of all vendors. That bride could just get engaged 24 hours before they come to me. They sit down in front of me. When they leave, they have a business card for everything they need on their wedding day, from dresses to DJs to caterers to bartenders to venues, everything. Now they're going to go do their own research, but
Yeah.
sometimes they'll trust. You were talking about those three things. They'll trust somebody. Oh, Ron said this place for the dresses was really nice. I never heard of them. I'm going to go check them out.
Yeah, yeah, totally. All right. Yeah, no, this is all gold. I got to tell you about social media. We could probably go on and on and on. We would never stop, but
I
we
told
have
you
to
sometimes I don't know how to stop.
we have to go on with the interview. So this next thing, this next segment is about just some energy that you obviously have. I'm gonna just roll through a bunch of questions. It's a quick answer. We don't have to go on and on. But I and the audience, your audience and my audience, want to know get to know you better. So I'm just gonna go through a series. If you get stuck, just say next question, and I'll go to the next question. All right, Ron, ready?
Yes, I think
What's your favorite lens? One lens that you would have to pick if you had to get rid of everything else.
50 millimeter 1.8.
Interesting. Ron, coffee, tea, or Red Bull?
None.
That's
Zero.
right. So all this energy with no extra help.
If you follow me on social media, you guys know where I get my energy from. It's my all day energy cheese from Nutrition First. But yeah, it's more of a supplement place. No energy drinks.
When Ron gets up in the morning and picks up his phone, is it Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, or no phone at all?
No phone at all for the first 2 hours of the morning, and then I go straight to my 17 Hats software and look for leads.
Gotcha. The one we've talked about off camera lighting. Do you repeat the same pose with like every wedding? Is there like one that you always go to because you know it's money and you know it works, or do you just it's just variety?
I start with my money shot, and then I, depending on the couple, adjust from there because not every couple's the same.
Okay, gotcha. Backups, just external drives, cloud, everything. Like what's the setup quickly?
Great question. Sony shooter, so I have two camera slots in my camera. Take out the two memory cards, one from each camera, goes into my hard drive. My external hard drive. I'm working on my computer. And
Gotcha.
from there, I back up again a third time to another external drive on a separate server someplace else. And then I do not delete or reformat the cards until after I deliver. So I have three backups plus my memory card. Then when I deliver, then I clear the cards and then I save. I have about 45 hard drives full of wedding images.
For my audience, go back, rewind, write it down, and implement it. Very important. When Ron is on vacation with family, do you drag your camera or is it just phone photography?
I will bring a camera, kit lens, Sony camera, just to have something in case I need it. I have no internet on my cruises or when I go on vacation, and I rely more on my phone or my wife's phone. I literally try to disconnect when I'm on vacation.
When you look at photos, are you more on a warmer side or cooler side?
Warmer.
Do you delete? I think you've answered that kind of. Do you delete any photos as you're shooting? And I think the answer was no. I don't think you touch cards or delete photos.
Nope.
One app that you cannot live without.
One what?
One app that you cannot live without. Software. Could be software. Like if I eliminated everything just and you needed one, what would it be?
17 Hats.
Gotcha.
That's my CRN.
Okay. Do you do color, black and white, or are you just tend to stay on one side?
95% color. I will occasionally change one or two images 10 or 15 images into black and white if I feel like they look elegant enough.
Gotcha. Is it easier for you to and I'll say shoot strangers, but photograph strangers or friends and family?
I feel like I'm better with strangers.
Interesting. Same here. Um, Biggest gear regret? Anything that you regret buying?
No,
Mac or PC?
PC.
All right, cool. And the last one, if you were not a photographer and had to choose another career, what would Ron be when he grows up?
Do I have to grow up? um, I long story short, I was a machine shop operator. I made tools. I custom made tools. And what I would do with the print would come in and I would literally take a round piece of raw piece of metal and I would make a tool out of it. And then they go and make their helicopter parts and a whole bunch of stuff like that. So I would go back to doing machine shop and creating tools in that.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, perfect. Thank you, thanks for those answers, quick answers. And my next thing is because all we hear around is AI and automation. I just wanted to spend a little bit of time. AI, do you currently implement it, whether it's a chatbot on your website, whether it's CRM with your clients? Do you use AI during like in your editing process? Does it exist in your world or not yet?
I use AI in the sense of I'm very selective.
Mhm.
Um, I don't want chatbots. I want my client to hear from me in my words, in my misspellings, everything else like that. So I'm very careful about what I use for AI. Obviously, with Photoshop and Lightroom, there's an AI in there that comes along with deleting things and removing things that belong and taking a fire hydrant out of an image and things like that. That's to the extent of what I use it for. I use ChatGPT a lot when it comes to my YouTube channel because I'll take what I want to say for a title and I'll
Mhm.
ask ChatGPT to rewrite this for me to sound better title for my YouTube channel. So I use it very sparingly and every once in a while when it comes to that. But the only other AI that I use is very selective. Um, it's I know where it's going, I see where it's going, but I'm just taking my time getting involved with it.
Yeah. Makes sense. And because we were talking AI, obviously the future, any gear that you're planning on buying, something you're considering, something that's on your mind, or are you like, how often do you change your equipment?
That is a great question. I've had one Sony camera fail on me because I had an on-camera flash, so the hot shoe broke on it, so I bought another A7 IV. The only other thing and that's what I'm currently running now is A7 IVs for my weddings. I'm currently looking at the A7 V because of the no blackout on the back of the screen. So there's a few things. That's probably going to be the next thing that I'm going to look into doing. I have all the flashes I want. I have all the lenses I need. I really don't need anything else unless something literally physically breaks. But if it's not broken, I don't replace it.
Yeah. And the one question about video. Where do you stand with video? Do you provide some sort of a highlight? Do you just focus on photography? Where are you with that option?
That's a great question. You know that a lot of the cameras that we have nowadays can do photo and video. When anybody that's looking for video, I will point them in a direction of a videographer. And I do that because I know I can do video in my cameras, but I want to stay in the lane that I'm good at and not have to worry about splitting my energy into two separate entities. So I send people videographers to do that. And a lot of times it works. A lot of times it's not in the budget, but um, I have pick time for my software delivery service. So I can upload my images from there. Inside of there, it can create some reels for me. So they'll get reels in the process of that. Um, I do have an Osmo Pocket 3 that I bring with me on my weddings, and I do a couple of small
Yeah.
moving clips. I
Yep.
record my champagne sprays and things like that. So very, very limited when it comes to that. I do it more for behind the scenes than anything else. So any videos that I'm trying to create or implement is more for behind the scenes put it on a tripod, me stand in front of it, and then me doing everything that I'm doing or recording a champagne spray.
Yeah.
So video, I implement just very little.
No, I mean, interesting because we're in the same bucket. I think I never offered video. Like we've tried to experiment with highlights. We'll do it. We won't even charge for it. It'll just it's
Yep.
just something for the client to surprise the
Yep.
client, maybe. But I always believe that video because I have done video in the past too, and it's a different mental space. It's a different workflow you're running in your head,
100%.
and 100%, we're committed to a client and photos, and it's just we can only. I understand it would be some sort of a bundle and maybe clients could take advantage of, but I always say, hey, we have literally a script that we're running, and it only works when we're not distracted. And I almost think of it as a distraction if I had to do it at the same time. And Ron, we're almost at the end. Last question. So, last question is really, I always say it like this message in the envelope. Somebody, you're trying to give only one message because we've covered a lot. The map is pretty big. I know there's a lot, but like, what would you tell a new photographer? What would it be? Price, equipment, how to deal with clients, be yourself, be the person, be the human being. What is it?
A message to the client would be find your vendors that best represent you and your personality. So my message to the client is whatever you're looking at doing, find the vendors that surround you, surround yourself with the vendors that best fit your vibe.
What about a photographer? Somebody's asking, Ron, I'm just starting. What's the most important thing I should care about?
Um, Not worrying about what anybody else is doing, not worrying about what anybody else is saying. My best advice to you is practice, practice, and then practice some more. And then when you're done with that practicing, practice some more. And it sounds very redundant and you will laugh about that,
Yeah.
but this is the only way you're going to get better at what you do. It's the only way. Start with families, go to the park, start with kids, go to the park, do all of that, do that for 2 years, get really good at that because, first of all, that's going to get you really good with interacting with people. If you're not good with people, you're never going to be able to be good at a wedding because you have to literally organize, talk to, straighten up, sometimes tell people to stop talking at a wedding, and you have to organize 13 people to get to look at you. And if you can't handle a 2-year-old, you'll never make it as a wedding photographer. So practice, stay in your lane for a little while, work your way up, get into headshots, and then start as a second shooter. Do 2 years of second shooting with multiple photographers, get to know how they work and how they feel and how they deliver and everything else like that. Then work your way and find out if you can start getting into weddings from there.
Yeah, two things. You mentioned that if you can't handle a 2-year-old, there's a reason why I don't do baby photography. I'm just, I can't, just don't have the nerve, you know?
It's the truth.
Uh,
It's the truth.
yeah, and practicing, it's important. I know we may be demotivating some people, but it's like we're just trying to be realistic about what it takes. A lot of people rush into it, buy a camera, think that they can do it, and they're actually doing disadvantage both to the client and themselves, right? Ron, I appreciate it. This was fantastic. I hope we'll get to we'll get a chance to do it again maybe sometime in the future. But this
Yeah.
was great. Last thing I will ask is, so if for anybody that's willing to reach out, maybe there's clients interested, where do they find you? Where do I go when I want to find Ron?
Um, Anywhere on social media. You can look me up by my name, which is Ron Lemelin, Lemelin. Website is rl-photos with an s.com, which is right there. That's the easiest way to find me. I'm always trying to encourage and help other people when it comes to that. So this is, first of all, an honor to be part of your podcast. I really appreciate this. The video part of this. This is something I wish other people would do more of, collaborations like this,
Yeah.
because this is inspiring to other people that are
So
either just starting out or they're seasoned and they're trying to get more involved with the industry. So thank you for doing this and thank you for having me.
thank you so much, Ron. That was a good one. See ya.
See ya.